Well, good evening and welcome to the Arbor Hills Nature Preserve in Plano, Texas. Tonight's exercise is the first field test of the NITECORE HC65 UHE. I want to thank NITECORE for sending me this light and making the review possible. I guess you probably noticed the way cool carrying case. I really liked that. Now, I know a lot of people have been to the website. You've already looked up the features, functionality, so I'm going to make this intro real short. There you have it. 8-core UHE, ultra high efficiency LED. You might be able to see the two auxiliary emitters. Very simple operation. The UI works exactly the way it's documented. Not going to spend much time on this intro. You have three output modes, which are red, high CRI or auxiliary white, and then primary white. You can see the two switches here. This switch controls mode. This switch controls output level within the mode. Now, the exception is if you're in primary white, you double click this switch to get to beacon SOS. Within a mode, a single click will take you to the next output level in sequence, then it rotates back around. The exception being, again, in primary white, you would double click the switch to go to turbo, single click to get back to where you were. All right, simple enough that even an idiot like me can work with it. Now, in terms of preliminary testing, I don't know if you can see, these switches aren't that raised. I would have preferred for them to be higher and a bit more of a tactile click. Now, if you're working with bare hands, it's not that big a deal, but when I put gloves on, I noticed this really takes some getting used to, particularly with thicker winter gloves. Now, in terms of adjusting the light, oh yeah, very nice definitive clicks, small increments, and once it gets in an orientation, it wants to stay there. Now, the strap itself I found incredibly easy to adjust. Probably one of the easiest ones I've ever worked with. I have to be a little bit careful when I talk about comfort because I have a very sensitive forehead, which is an unfortunate result from a very bad car wreck I was involved in back in 2017. I don't want to go through all the details. Just suffice to say, sunglasses split in half, rammed up my forehead, dual 4-inch gashes. You can probably figure out the rest. You've got this little kind of a silicone band right that keeps it from slipping. This is fairly comfortable, but I did notice some irritation after wearing it on my bare forehead after about 10 to 15 minutes. Again, because of that accident and my resulting sensitivity, take that with a couple of grains of salt, maybe even 3 grains of salt. In my preliminary evaluation, I wore this with a buff on my head. Tonight, I'm going to wear a very lightweight watch cap. All right, got some business to take care of here real quick. I spent a lot of time talking about what output mode and or output level inside a mode we're in. If you're looking at red, hopefully this shows up. You can see that the constant on levels are low-high. Oh, but we get to auxiliary white, it's ultra low and low. Then when we go to primary white, we would expect the lowest output level to be ultra low or low. In fact, it's listed as mid. You may have seen this chart on the website. That can get confusing. Of course, I'm going to put up the peak, lumen, and candela numbers, so there won't be any confusion. But just to make this more consistent, not only between, say, red and aux white, but with other lighting systems as well. When it comes to the aux white, I'm going to call these output levels low and high. When we get to primary white, I'm going to call them low, medium, high, turbo. I'm not going to show the output tonight, but of course we also have beacon SOS. If you'd like to see that, leave a comment. I'm probably going to do 2, possibly 3 field tests on this light, so there will be plenty of opportunity to roll that demonstration into a subsequent video. All right, that's the super quick introduction. And I get it, you're not here to listen to me. You want to see the light. You want to see the field test. All right then, you want it, you got it. All right, here we go. Primary white basic output levels, starting with low, medium, and as we move up there, we've got a good 40 yards line of sight. High. Now I click again, notice it goes back around to low, and then there's the double click into turbo. So I'm here at the playground area doing a quick search in primary white low output. You've probably seen this scenario before in some other reviews, trying to simulate having to search for something that was lost out here earlier. Now it's going to be a pretty bright night tonight. We've got a 1/3 moon out, some low clouds, a tiny bit of additional reflection from the light in the surrounding city, swing set area. And then let's go back through here, just kind of look out in the trees. Oh yes, there's one of the who knows how many hundreds of rabbits out here. So there's our first look in low. So this is a second test in low in a much more confined area. There is some useful spill, but especially as it gets darker, this impresses me as having a very, very definitive hotspot. Let's see if I can walk and film at the same time. Yeah, I know you want me to trip and have a terrible accident and then have to call search and rescue. Yeah, I know what the score is. All right, it's a little drier. Let's work our way here. No, I won't use the wire mesh for traction. See if I can make it down here. Okay, here we go. Work my way around here. Then there's the infamous bridge. And then back around. For path following in an emergency or a low battery situation, low would be okay for just right in front of you, but for a path in a wide open area like this, low just isn't going to get the job done, especially on a bright night. It's not giving me the breadth of downrange information that I need, areas that I might get in trouble. Now the spill here is very useful, but I can get really, really good downrange information on the slope of the terrain, where these little ridges are that have been formed by rainwash that I might trip over, rocks that I might trip over, and there's more than enough side-to-side visibility to pick up anything that's moving, eye shine, and so forth. So for this type of night and this type of trail, yeah, medium is exactly what you want. This is going to be a combined medium-high test. In medium right now, looking a good 38 yards back to the opposite edge of that creek. Actually 38 plus if you go well beyond the opposite edge. Then around to the right, you've seen this before. Concrete path goes off to the right. Normally in a flashlight eval, I'd stop right here. I'm going to keep going. Let's see what we can get out of medium. Okay, see that little group of trees on the left? And then there's another tree to the right. Okay, from where I'm standing, the midpoint between those two is 100 yards, and that's where I'm really losing medium. I can see the far tree beyond it, but just barely. Okay, there we go into high. We've got some particulates in the air. If it wasn't for that, I could probably get some decent detail from that further tree, and then move on off to the right. That tree line is 125 to 150. Again, I can see a tree line is out there, but I'm not getting any real detail. But still, on a bright night like tonight, that's pretty impressive output from high. So this is more of an open terrain test. I have to be a little bit careful since I'm filming and walking over very uneven ground at the same time. We're in low. And then let's bump that up one. Okay, there's medium. Picking up a few reflective things off the ground. I don't know that I would use this headlamp in search and rescue. Certainly not as a primary. But even if I was out night hiking, let's say I got a little bit lost, I'm trying to find a path. I think medium is working really well here. I'm just digging this general beam style. Hey, what do we see over here? Yeah, this is looking good. Okay, there we go. I found the path, and as we look at things up close, the reflections that I'm getting back are not particularly annoying. So I think there are just several qualities of this low, medium, high beam that I really like. But I know what you're thinking. I'm tired of this crap. I want to see turbo. And turbo. As we look out past that tree, a good 60 yards line of sight, I have no idea what the step down is going to be, so I'm just going to let it run for a while and see what happens. Very generous spill, but you still have a good noticeable hot spot. I don't feel any heat at all in the body of the light. There's a fairly nice cool breeze out tonight that may have some influence. Well, a good minute and a half, it seems like it's lost something. About 2 minutes. Seems like a very gradual burn down, but that may only be the first part of the curve. Try to let it go to at least 3. Well, we've gone past 3. This is looking to be a steady state, so I'm going to go ahead and stop it here. Top of the observation tower, a little bit of backlighting, flashing red, about 34, 35 yards. So this is where I was standing. If you're trying to make your way along in high red, this will give you an idea of what it looks like. Now let's see what that low red looks like as an admin light. All right, I'm seated. This is low red. I'm consulting my map here. Not bad, but a bit hard to read some of the smaller print, especially at my advanced stage. So let's go over to that aux white high CRI and see what it looks like. Okay, this is the low output. I would definitely use this for map reading. Now let's go check out the high. For close-up observation, particularly for fine ground detail or just within about 5 to 8 yards, this is actually pretty decent. You get more accurate color rendering, very, very smooth beam. Yeah, I totally like this. So a final quick test here in medium and high, kind of on a shortcut trail. Let's go ahead and get up into high, although the visibility from medium is pretty impressive. There we go. High is going to be your money mode anyway. Turbo seems to burn down to pretty close to high after, oh, that's another rabbit. That's very common in a lot of lights. So your best compromise between high output and runtime is going to be at that high level. No, that's a big rabbit, yeah. This is actually a maintenance path. You can tell by the tire marks. I definitely need to get this out to the LBJ grasslands in this output level and see what it can really do over a protracted period of time, but I'm going to make my way back up to the usual area, do one final pass through all the basic primary white outputs, and then we'll wrap this up for the night. So one more time through the primary white basic outputs, relatively fresh concrete in front of me. Low output, I'm looking for tinting, flickering. Then let's walk up here to the corner. out over the rail. Medium. High, a good 60 yards line of sight back through that far tree line. Look at the side to side. Back around to low, and the double click to turbo. And then let's pan that around to the right a bit. All right, let's wrap it up for tonight. Starting out in low. Yeah, I know, you really want to see me trip and fall and call search and rescue. Let's give that one more try. We'll also see if I can walk and film at the same time. Okay, that's up into medium. Let's stay down close to the creek here. Ooh, maybe I'll fall in. Well, in that case, I better really get this wrapped up. A very interesting test tonight. I wanted to say one little factoid until the very end, and that is that this light does have some pretty impressive output and some interesting stated runtime. Now that comes from a 4,000 milliamp hour proprietary battery. Well, you've kind of seen what you get for it. Question is it really worth it? And on the one hand, the output levels are important, but the big question is for how long? And so that's a great segue into the final wrap up in my next test, which is going to be battery endurance related. I would like to get this light out to the LBJ grasslands, run it in a more challenging environment, and run it for a very extended amount of time. There may be other tests that you would like to see, comparisons perhaps. By now you should probably know the drill. Leave a comment. I'll see what I can do, and that's going to wrap it up for tonight. And as always, until the next review, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for watching the video.